Okay, so the Alter Rebbe was discussing over here. The Alter Rebbe was discussing in the Mamer. He brought down the saying that there is every letter has to have parchment surrounding the letter. He wants to make a distinction between the letter, the level of the letter, and the level of the gevil, of the parchment which surrounds the level. The level of gevil is higher than the letter itself, because it is the parchment that carries the letter, that carries the letter over here. So the Alter Rebbe says, we'll start a parenthesis again. The Alter Rebbe says that Kan medaber me'in binyan hamshocha mechochmo bina lezo al yidei oisios. That over here we're talking about Bechlal, every hamshocha has these two parts. Oisios, as the Rebbe explained, is the level of hamshocha. So anytime you have a hamshocha, you have letters, and you have the gevil. So over here, when we're talking about the Abba Yonik B'Mazel Ches, we're talking about the hamshocha from Chochma Bina to Zoh through the level of Oisios. So that's why, because we're talking about from Chochma Bina to Zoh through the Oisios, so what is the gevil? What is the lavenunis? What is the white part? The letters are the black, and the white part that surrounds it. Sholochein halavnunis hasoivel ha'oisios. And therefore, what is the level of lavenunis, the white that tolerates, that carries those letters? Zehu b'chinas chokhmah, that is the level of chokhmah. So chokhmah is the lavenunis, and the hamshocha is from chokhmah to zoh. But Uli'il Diber, earlier in the Mamer, he talked about Behamshocha Mikeser L'Chochma Ubina the Oisios. That's discussing the Hamshocha to bring from Keser, from higher than Hishtalshelus into Chochma Ubina through the level of Oisios. So that's why before in the discussion, the Mamer Shel Halavinunis who galgalto the Arich Ampinchul. Over there, the Lavinunis is the galgalto, is the skull of Arich Ampinchul. The Ayin, Berayim Mehemne, Parsha Shofti Daf Reish Ayin Amud Aleph. So over there, Gabei Garmin Benuyin al Moicha Hulu. There is vessels that are built on the Moyach. So these are the Moyach has these levels. That's the Lavnunis that he says are. Inun chibrin chulu. They are white. Ukisiva uchma. And the writing, the letter itself is uchma, is dark, is black. Loi ishtemoida elo megoy chibra. You cannot know it only from the white. So basically, you need the parchment in order to write the black. You can only tell the black if there is white around it. Kigabna de Raisachulu, similar to the Torah. Like you have the black and the white. The gevil, the parchment is the white, and the gevil is the black. Ubepirush haramaz shom, and the Ramaz explains over there the Zohar, the chivru v'uchma hem chokma b'nuchulu. That what is the black and what is the white? That is the level of chokma and bina. The chivru, the white is chokma, and the black is bina. Ukemoi atzmuyus haseichel hu noise v'sabel v'soivel eso ishis shenishavu boy kishen nimshach haseichel b'avona v'asoga b'avona chulu. Just like the seichel itself tolerates the when he comes up with a new, he tolerates and he carries the letters that were created. When you come down into a new idea, there is letters created, and the seichel carries them, as written elsewhere. And this is why Shebina Nikra Sefer. So Bina is called the Sefer, and the Chochma is called the Sefer. Why? Because the Bina is the actual writing. That's the Torah. That's the black letters, and the Chochma, that's the level of the Gevil that is that gives into that Sefer Bechinas Oisius. The Chochma is Sefer. That's the Reishis U'Moker Chulu. That is the beginning and the source. Bechinas Chivru. That is the level of white. B'chein Nizbar beBiur Aposik V'Osiso Tzitz beParshas Tzitzave. Gabei Pitachto Lo Pituche Chosom Ubeitz Chaim Shar Chof Hei Drush Hei B'Inyan Eres the Emo Shenase Kesel Lezo B'In Zezne Kesel Lezo Kosav. So in the Eitz Chaim he writes in Shar Chof Hei over there, Kikol B'chinas Emo Loiven V'Rachamim Be'erech Zo, that when we talk about the Emo, the level of Bina, that's considered to be white and Rachamim relative to Zo. Zo becomes black already. V'reisha Chivra de Galgalto Hilavnunis Tiferes de Tvuna. And the beginning is the white of the Galgalto that represents the white of Tiferes de Tvuna. So you have Tiferes de Tvuna itself is white. The Hamshoche comes down, and similar, you have to understand. You'll also understand in the level of Arich Ampin. So these are all explaining you the level of white and black, the way it comes out. In Tiferes Zov from Bina, where the source, the source is a level of white of Chibra, and when it comes out, the letters, it becomes in a letter of black. So according to this, we can say the Sefer, that when we say Sefer, the Hainu Bina, so up till now, we were saying that the Sefer Chochma is the white and Bina is the black. But now that we're saying that in the Bina itself, we also have the white and the black. So we can say the Sefer, the Hainu Bina, when we talk about Sefer, which is Bina, Koilel Hagvil Halavan, does include also the white plane, the area of the parchment. Shu Bechinas Chivra de Galgalto that is the white of the Galgalta Shebitiferes the Ema, as we just brought down from the Eitz Chaim. V'gam koilel ha'oisius shenimshachim misoid Ema chul. And it also includes the letters that are nimshach from misoid Ema. So now Sefer is all-encompassing. Not Sefer is not just the letters, and Sefer Chochma is the Gevil, but no. But even in the level of Sefer includes both. So what is the Sefer Shu Chochma Ilah? So what is the level now of Sefer described? Hilemailo mibeis bechinas the Sefer the Chibur. That is higher than both levels of the Sefer, which is both white and black. Because the white and black are all in Bina, they're all in Sefer. Sefer is higher than that. Similar to what's explained elsewhere. There, the Gemara brings down that the words of the scribe is greater even than the wine of Torah. Why is that as the words of the scribes? That means that is the Torah Shabbat Peh. The Torah Shabbat that includes the Yeina Shel Torah, that includes both. That includes the level of the white and the black, the Gevil and the Oisius. And this is sweeter than Torah because this is not even the Gevil. Why is this higher? It's like the level of Chochma, which is higher than the Sefer Bina, which includes both the level of Oisius and the Gevil. The fish, Shorsham. So what's explained over there? So why is Ara Areid Malay Divrei Sofrim? The fish, Shorsham Chochma Ilah Shenikra Sefer. Because they are rooted in the level of Chochma Ilah, which is called Sefer. Shalamailo Mebchinas Terev Shebiksav Shenikra Sefer, which is higher than the Terev Shebiksav. That's why it's Aredim. It's sweeter because it comes from Chochma. But in Terev Shebiksav Shenikra Sefer Yesh Bo Chibra V'Uchba Kenal. So the Torah Shebiksav, which is called Sefer Torah, it's a Sefer, includes both. It includes the white and the dark and the black Kenal. Shana Kirva Ochma. Kenal, like we said earlier, that Shekol Ois She'ein Emukum Gevil Chulu is not a kosher Sefer Torah, not a kosher level. So B'tzorich Leimar, the Sefer Hulamaylam is there. So therefore we have to say that Sefer is higher than that. That's the level of Chochmah. That's the level of Arevim. V'hainu k'moishe kosuv b'Eitz Chaim. It's like it says in Eitz Chaim, the Reisha Chibra de Galgalto Hilavnunis Tiferes de Tvuna. As we brought down the Eitz Chaim before, that the top, the beginning of the white of the Gagal, that's Lavnunis of Tiferes de Tvuna. So this is all in the level of Bina. So in that case, the Chochma Ilah, which is level of Sefer, is higher than this level. שבחינת סופר ובחינת ספר ובחינת מוקר האור, that level of sefer, that's the source of life. Hamakiv shamil mailo מבחינת נהיר chivra. So I think the word here is מבחינת Sefer l'chera, no? Yeah. So Bechinas Sefer. Let me say that. Bechinas Sefer. Okay. So that's the Moker Ha'ir. Bechinas Sefer. Bechinas Sefer. Bechinas Sefer. Ruch Ma'ayin Shom. V'zeu inyan ha'oisius shebetfilin v'hagvil. And this is also the idea. It goes back to in the inside after parentheses. This is the idea of the letters of the tefillin and the parchment. Ki daled parshias heimam shochas daled moichid. The four parshias, that is the extension of the four different levels in the moichin, as we have the four parshas in the tefillin. Kadesh likol b'choir is chokhmah. That represents chokhmah. Liyis nimshach umizgal lemata b'chinas chokhmah, so that the level of chokhmah should be revealed, extended and revealed here below. That's the parshas Kadesh. Kidiksiv, as the pasuk says, the mantia Torah savaya b'ficha. The Torah of Hashem should be b'ficha. What does that mean? That means the level of chokhmah, the Torah savaya, which is chokhmah. It should be ani hamishna hamadaberes b'ficha. That the Mishnah, as it says by the Magid Mishor, by the Beis Yosef over there, is brought down that the Mishnah is b'ficha. That means that that's Torah's Hashem. The Torah, which is Hashem, is in your mouth. That's the hamshoch of chokhmah b'ficha. Ani mishnah medaberes b'ficha, which is oisek b'Torah lishmo lahamshoch. That is when you occupy yourself in Torah lishmo, and that brings down the Eiros and Kelim, the Torah's Hashem, to come down in b'ficha. That's the Parshas Kadesh Likol B'choir. The second Parsha is V'hoya Kiviyacha, which is Moyach Bina, etc. The rest of the four Parshas. V'agvil halovan hamaki v'soisyus, and the white parchment, the gevil, which surrounds the letters, who b'chinas galgalto lavanunis. That is the white of the galgalto. Asher hu makif u'moker l'moichin chulu, which is a surrounding and a source for the moichin. Dalet. So now we can understand the idea of the pasuk. It says to be like a seal on your lathe. Before the pasuk has both a chosem on your hand, that's the tefillin shel yad, but also have chosem alibecha, which is the tefillin shel rosh. V'nikra al libecha. So why do we call it on your heart? L'chayra, it's not your heart. L'chayra, that should be your rosh. We're talking about the tefillin shel rosh. Why do we say k'choisem alibecha? So v'nikra alibecha. The reason we call it alibecha is kiritzuos tefillin shel rosh talyan aliba, because the level, the straps of the tefillin shel rosh, they hang over the heart. So they're taked the tefillin shel rosh, but the straps of the tefillin shel rosh is talyan al riba, they hang over the heart. Ki hine haritzuos nasim gamkein me'oir shu gamkein k'moy klav. He wants to say that these ritzuos, just like we were talking about the whole time, that the level of the parchment, the level of the white, is a higher madrega than the level of the oisius. So he says the same thing is true about the ritzuos. because the ritzuas are also made out of the leather. That is also leather, is also like parchment, just like the parchment. Within the parchment is the white on what you write the letters, but over here, conceptually, the idea of oil. So that's one thing. Further, he says, the gam kishedim, ritzuas would also be kosher. If you made the straps out of parchment, that would be okay. So that basically means that these ritzuas are the same idea like the gevil, which is makif. The oisiyos likewise are the ritzuas like that cloth. And why is that? Because these straps are the supreme midos. Ayin bezoyar parshas pincha daf reish lamed vav omed beis. Shehem nimshochim gam kein, the level of midos elyonis also come b'mchinas lavanun is the galgalta, from the white of the skull, like we were talking the whole time about bina, about sefer. Over here, the straps, the ritzuas of the shell roish are also come from the level of lavnunis of the galgalta, which is the same idea as the Gevil I said earlier. How could we say that the midos come from the level of lavnunis, which basically means that they're even higher than the seichel? Because the oisiyos, which comes down to seichel, is connected to ishtalshlus. Here we're saying that this is the level of lavnunis, the galgalta, in a higher level. That's the higher than level of oisiyos. But we know that midos come from seichel. So first, a person has an idea, and when he has the idea, that creates an emotional attachment to the idea that it has. So how could we say that the midos that come from seichel are actually higher? This libecho is actually from the gevil, is actually from the level of lavnunis. The Av explains, even though we see, the way we see it, we see that the midos extend from the seichel. A child who has a small seichel, his love is to small things. So you see that there is an association from the midos to the seichel, and the smaller the seichel is, the less midos there are, and that's why a cotton wants small things. So how could we say that the midos are connected to the level of lavnunis? So this afal pikein, and yet still, yesh b'midos moker gamkein milamaylam haseichel. In the midos there is a source which is even higher than the seichel. Yes, midos come through seichel, but once there is midos, you need the seichel to create and ma'order the midos. But once you have the midos, they tap into a place which is higher than seichel. Okay, as we find in the Idra Zuta and Daf Rav Reish Sadik Beis Amud Aleph, Zo Ba'atiko Kadisho Talya V'Achid, that Zeir Ampin, which is the midos, they are hanging and united with the level of Atika Kadisho. which is higher than Hishtalshlus, which is higher than Seichel, which gave birth to the Midas. Because Sheshoiresh HaMidas the Atzilus, the root of the Midas of Atzilus, Zo, the Zeir Ampin, is Mibechinas Atiko V'Galgalto. That comes from the level of Atik that was removed, V'Galgalto, in the skull. Rak HaHamshoche Hu Derech HaSeichel. It's only that the Hamshoche comes through the Seichel. As we see in actuality, that Sheispilus Hamidus Nase Haschaloso Min Haseichel, that the excitement and the bringing about of the midas in the beginning, it starts off with Seichel. But later on, once he became already excited, the Seichel created the midah. Godlo hamas haispilus l'maylo min haseichel. Then that excitement goes beyond the Seichel that created them. Come on. Say, for example, she'im odom roye oyhavoy sheloi ra oysoy mizman kabir. A person sees someone who he loves, who he hadn't seen for a long time. So then the joy and the excitement comes great beyond the intellect and the reason. So why is that? Because the source of midas is higher than seichel. As we said before, ki avo is kalilu b'mazlo, the level of avo, the level of chokhmo, bina, avei, they are included in the mazel. The mazel is the level of sidus. Ubei talien, ubei achidon, and they are hanging and united with the level of the mazel. Shenim shochim mebchinas sidus. They come, chokhmo bina, come from the level of sidus. Zo shehu hamidos, but on the other hand, zo, which is the midos, over there is ba'atika achid v'talya. That is an atik. So you see, while seichel comes from the level of mazel, the level of sidus, the level of arich, midos come from the level of atik. The atika achid v'talya. V'ayim ha'shekosuv mizeh gamke b'dibur hamaschil inyan ha'ovis hein ha'merkava b'parshas Yisrael. So who hagavil halavan? That is the white parchment that surrounds the letter, that's higher. That's the level of midos. And that's why haritzuos nimshechu v'nasu gamkein migvil. The ritzuos also are made out of the gevil, because shebe'atzmus hagevil hu b'chinas loiven. In the answer, that level of loiven, hainu chesed atik. That is the level of chesed atik. That's the loiven of the asgevil. Uvesham nimshachul al halev shu b'chinas loiven. Here, the ritzuos, the straps that are hanging and going over the heart, is because from the level of the essence of the gevil of chesed atik, they come into the ritzuos, which is over the heart. The only thing is, this shine and this hamshocha from chesed atik to the midas, that cannot come down in the inside of the midas, like seichel does. Seichel that creates the midah, creates the spilus. The rest is up in the midah. But the level that we're talking about of atik that comes down through the wheel, that comes out outside, that comes over the heart. The straps are over you, but not inside. Like b'chinas makif ala midah. Only in a way of makif over the midah is the hamshocha. And bezo v'yiminei techabekeni. This is also meaning his right hand hugs me. So what is the meaning of Yeminoi? What is the meaning of Yeminoi? Yeminoi Techabkeni. Pirush Yeminoi. So what is the meaning of Yeminoi? The Chesed Atik. That's Chesed Atik. As we're talking now, the level, the atzmos of the loiven, which is Chesed Atik. Techabkeni hugs me. That's Bechinas Makif, like the Ritzuas or Makif, that's the Chabikeni in the way of surrounding. Like a person who hugs his friend, who Bechinas Makif is in a way of Makif. That's the way it is. L'chein, Haritzuas Nimshochin, the Italian al Alev Bechinas Makif. That's why the Ritzuas are hanging on the head, over the heart in a way of makif. But the shorsham, what is their root? Ma'agavil, from the parchment shu lavnunis dile'elo, that is the supreme lavnunis, which is hainu haklaf halovon hamakif la'oisius canal, that is the white parchment that surrounds the letters. Rak mach mashalish talshul lemata b'midas. But because this klaf, the love and ha'elyain, the white of the ritzuas is not as white, and they're actually black, the ritzuas, so we have them the level. We're saying that they're the level of the loiven ha'elyain. They come from the gevil, which is the level of lavnunis, which is the klaf which surrounds the Oisius. But he's saying the way it comes down now over Yeminei Techabkeni, we have the Ritzia Tzuis, Talyan al Liboy, Rak Machmas Shanishtalshu Lamato B'midos, because they have descended to the midos, they were Nimshach in the midos, Ein Bahem Behirus V'Ha'ore, they don't have that shine and that light, that ray, as they are in the source, which is the white of the parchment. So coming down in this hamshacha, they lose their shine and their ray. Because there is no comparison when we talk about the straps, Shehem Amshochas Bechinas Chesed the Atik Lamato Chulu, which is the Hamshocha of the level of Chesed Lamokor Bechinas Hagilui Shehu Lavnunis Chesed Atik, to the source of the Gilui, from where it comes from, which is the white of Chesed Atik. The Ritzuas down here have no comparison, and that's why they're not as white anymore. And that's why we can't have, and that's why we need actually black straps. And that's why our sage says Ritzuas Shchoides Halacha L'Moshe Sinai, that there's actually Halacha L'Moshe Sinai, which tells us that the straps are black. The Af al Habatim, and also on the boxes of the tefillin, the holders of the tefillin, even though they also come from the level of the leather from the oir, but mevuer beposkim, it is explained, articulated in the codifiers, shetzrichim liyes shechorim, that they need to be black. The boxes need to be black. V'loi k'moi haparshis atzmon shaklafu lovan, not like the parshas itself, in which the parchment is white. So bezehu, and this is the idea of what it says. Simani kichoisem alibecha. Simani kichoisem alibecha. The tefillin shel alibecha elu tefillin shel rosh. Sheritzues talion alibay. We touch the post tefillin shel rosh. Sheritzues talion alibay, that they are alibecha. That's why it's the tefillin, but it's the hamshocha, which comes from the level of chesed of atik, and over there it's lavnunis, but over here it comes down choisem alibecha yemine techabikeni in a level of ritzues, and they're shchoides, but choisem alibecha it's ritzues Italian aliba. Ba'ayin mashekosu bebiur al posik shchoira ani v'nova. It says shchoira ani v'nova over there, discussing be'inyan mitzvahs loisase, with regards to loisase shenim shechim gamkein mibechinas tivtzoisov taltalim shchoides ka'erev chulu. So it says that they come from the level. And the level of loisase. The halal we're talking about, the level of loisase also comes from the level of lavnunis. It comes from the level of gevil. Klaf, it's higher than the mitzvah say. But over there, it says that they come from the level of shchoides, k'orev. Why is that? V'afal pikein zehu lifi. Why are they black? Lifi sha'ad rabbe. Shorshon l'mayla mitzvahs asay hanim shochim because they come from a higher level, from mitzvahs asay. They come from the level sarei shekamar nikei, like clean wool, the level of white. So it turns out that the mitzvahs asay, which are a lower level, they come from the level of white, saresha. Loisasa, which is a higher level, comes from the level of shchoides. So we can explain similar we can say over here too, that the higher level, the tefillin, the straps become black. Shahare oritzues shein shchoides shorsham mibchinas lavnunis de galgalto chesed de atik. The ritzuas that are black, we say they're coming from the white of the galgalto, which is chesed de atik, which is a higher level than the sareisha, is like white wool. Shahasaidas einon arech la'atzmis hagalgalto canal. That over there, the Shasaidas have no comparison. The Saresha, Kamar Nikei, when we talk about the Eber, so to speak, the hair of his head is like clean wool, the white. They are no comparison to the essence of the Golas, as we said before. They just have an achiza over there in the level of the galgalto, but they're not part of the galgalto. He said before, you can cut the hair, it doesn't hurt the hair. It's just a achiza there. V'aritzua is shehein atzmon klaf lovon. But the Ritzuas, they themselves are like the white parchment. We said that they come from the level of klaf, like Lovin. That is the essence of the Galgalta v'Chesed Atik. Rak shekedei liyos b'chinas zu nimshach lemato. Just in order to have this level nimshach to come down below, so we need them to be black. So they're really white, but in order to be mamshich from the level of chesed da'atik into the world, they have to be black. But they're in a higher level because the level of essence of the Galgalto, which is the Lavnunis, the Galgalto, that's the Loisa say it's much higher than the level of Cyrus, which are only holding on to the Galgalto. The Hainu al derech okay, so V'hainu al derech shenizbaer the tefillin shel roish hu bechinas choisem boilet, that the tefillin shel roish is like a protruding seal hanimshach al yidei shkiya shamilmato, that comes through below being of the level of shikia sunk in, which is Tfilah Shemoneh Esrei Chulu, which is the davening of the Shemoneh Esrei, which is the level of bittul, the level of shkia milmatel of bittul. And that is also the level of the light which extends by observing the loisase. Ukenal, as we said earlier, shal loisase hein bechinas shkia ubitl atzmusei. That through the level of loisase, that which is the level of sunken and bitl atzmusei, not to do force yourself iskafia, not to give into the klippus. That's how you get the protruding chosim, the higher level from above. Just like the loises come from the level of black, like the raven, as explained there at length in the Mamer, in the Mamer of Shir Hashirim. So also that's why this chosim of the tefillin shel roish is also called kexotem al libecha, which is the straps, the chosim that go on the heart. So b'chinas is the talia and al libo shein shcheres chulu, and they are shcheres. So why is it? Why is that comes from the high shcheres? V'hainu lefisha shorsha mimokim gavaya me'oid halavnun is the galgalto. Because they have a very high source, which is the levite of the galgalto. Lochei lekach lo yuchlu lizgalis lamato kiim b'bchinas shcheres. That's why the only way they can be revealed below is through the level of being black. And likewise, the holders, the batim, are black. Okay, so basically, even though it's a higher, let's just say it's higher than the asay, and this is chesed atik, this is gulgalta, which is lavnunis, but that's taka the reason why when it comes down into the level of midas, it has to come down in a way of white, even though it's only maki, but it still comes down. The ritzuas comes down in a way of black, and also the batim are black. Mashenkin, and that's because that's Shchodes Ka'erim. Mashenkin, when we're talking about the Tefillin Shel Yad, or you're talking about the Hamshocha, that comes from the level of Sidus, Marnikei, they are in a level of white over there because they can come down. But yet, I guess the Oisius are still the level of black, the general, as we discussed the whole time before. From what I wrote here, Mashikasafti will also understand what explained over there. The Shoyre Sha'oir Hanimshach al the Sidus Choyres the Zoh, the root of the light which comes through the black Sidus Choyres of Zoh, which is Alideki Mitzvahs Loisas, through the presumption of Loisas, who Godel B'Mailo, that's in a greater level, Mebchina Sadish Reisha Kamanikeda Arichampin, that's a greater level than the possible. We said that Sadi Eisha is Kamanikei, which is of Arichampin. The Vahainu, and that is Sheshorshem Moker Halavnunis Einshom, and that is because the root is from the source of Nunis, and that's why, or we called it before Chesed Atik from Mitzchayim. That's why it is a greater Ma'aloisese. The Yesh Loimar. So what could we say? Inyan Moker Halavnunis. What is the source of Lavunis? Hainu Lavnunis Galgalto Darich Ampin Shaboy Chesed Atik. So that's the white, but it's the Galgalto of Arich Ampin, in which it has the Chesed of Atik. That is definitely greater than the Sareisha, which is the Mitzvah Saseh is in Sareisha, Kamar Nikei, and the level of the Lavnunis, that's the Sidus that comes from the Galgolis, but the Lavnunis of the Galgalta is higher. Bagam the Shomna is Bayer Binyan Achar, over there he said explained differently. Mekomakoim Gam Pirush Ze Yesh Leponim. This also has this explanation also has reason. And it says Va'ayin Mashakosu Bebiur Aposik Seis Osis Aposik Kikoretz Tzoitzi Tzimcha Binyan Yudin Rodis Arachamim Shem Malam Kol Abugomim. The building of the 13 attributes of mercy which fill all the blemishes of Apostle Teretziva, and also the part of the Mashakos Shom, Efshashi Yeshrai, there is the evidence for this interpretation. Hey, the Inyan, so that's the Choisem al Libecho, which is the Tefillin Shel Rosh. What is the Choisem al Zvayacha? But Tefillin Shel Yad, that's the Tefillin Shel Yad. That's the signet on the hand, which is Tefillin Shel Yad. And that is though Inyan Kriya Shema U'Shmoine Esrei. I think Krishma Shmoine Esrei, meaning the Tefillin Shel Yad and the Tefillin Shel Rosh. The Kechosim Azroecha together with Kechosim Alibecho. So Inyan Krishma Shmoine Esrei. Shomru Bezoyhar. Parshas Bamidbar Daf Kuf Chafam mit Beis Shetzloi Sodim Yushav Lekabel Tefillah Shel Yad. The prayer that is done sitting down, that corresponds to the tefillin of the hand. And v'hainu ad Shmon Esrei, that is up till Shmon Esrei. Lebosor Tzloiso Demumet. Later comes the davening of standing. The he lekabel tefillah dereisha, that is correspond to the tefillin shel rosh. This is similar to this. Pirush. Krishma and his blessing are considered tefillah of sitting down. Shu bechinas nukva. That is the level of feminine. Quotes the Pasuk, the Gemara says that the Isha Kora Moshev, we call it sometimes Merka, Mitzat Tznius. So when the Pasuk talks about Asher Teishav, talks about by the person, by the man, it says Rechav. But by the woman, we call it Moshe. That wants to say the level of Nukva, level of feminine, is called Moshe. So we say Tefillah Miyushav. That is the level of Malchus. Vayeshev Hashem Melech La'olam. He sat in Melech La'olam Bechinas Malchus da Atzilus She Mislabeshes Bibiyad. That's the level of Malchus da Atzilus. That dress of Bibiyad sits down, meaning it lowers itself into the level of Biyah through the level of Malchus da Atzilus. V'ayin mashakoshem mizeh soiv dibra maschil mi kavai lekeino makbi l'shavis. V'ayin mashakoshem b'dibra maschil ve'ye etz loy omun b'pirush explaining v'mashvisechem toviu. V'hainu ha'ava shel mimata l'maylo b'bchinas u'b'chol moedecho. When we talk about the Ava that comes from the level of below to above, in a way of B'chol Me'idecha, with all your being, who b'bchinas blita v'har, that is in a way of protrusion. It's like a mountain, sheyesh mi she'oyev chulu, that he is an entity, a yesh, and he loves Hashem. And therefore, nimshach mizeh milmailo b'chinas hoir hahor. From this comes milmailo, the level of hoir hahor. Hainu hamshochas hahor elyon lifi erech halos hahar milmata. Bringing down this supreme mountain relative to the mountain that we brought up from below. Relative to that ava, to that level of protrusion, level of yesh, the level of chol me'idecha, to bring down a corresponding level of a har that becomes hoir hahar. V'hainu, and that would be his labshus oir ein sof baruch hu be'eser b'chinas, that dressing up of the light of the ein sof. Blessed be he, into the 10 spheres, Bechinas Kelim, the Atzilus. It comes down to the levels of the vessels of Atzilus. Kelim, the Atzilus, and the Ein Sof, the light of the Ein Sof, is dressed up and covered within the vessel of Atzilus. Bezehu Inyan Hamshochas Ubinyan Ramach Evorim de Malko. This is bringing, extending, and the building of the 248 limbs of the king of Zod Atzilus. You're building the form, king, that Zeir Ampin, the level of Midas of Atzilus. Through your level of B'chol Me'idecha, you bring down the Hoir HaHor. You're bringing down Oiris B'Kelim in the Eses Firis Datzilus, in the Evorim of Malka the Zot Datzilus. And that's Al Yidei Ramach Tevin Shebe Krishma, through the 248 words that are in Krishma.